So you definitely have structure, you have people helping you out. And I think that's the biggest advantage is you're not creatively so attached to it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think creatives struggle with is when it's your baby, when it's your art, how do you get people to help you with it? That's blasphemy.
Yeah,
you know?
You think so. I'm going to share one of the best pieces of advice I ever received about creative work, and this comes from my friend Charlie, who runs the Charisma on Command channel. What he told me is like you have to figure out what is your art and what's your ego.
Ooh.
So when you are making everything in the beginning, like you're doing everything right, but not everything is like your special sauce. Some of it is like things you have to do to make it happen, but you could easily outsource those things and the quality wouldn't go down. Maybe it does at first because you're training somebody, but once they kind of get your process down, they will be able to do as good or better than you do. So he told me for him, you know, my strength or my art is looking at somebody like, you know, Terry Crews or The Rock or someone like that and analyzing their charisma. Like what makes them so good at doing interviews or what makes them so good at telling jokes, what makes them so likable. I'm really good at pulling out the things they do and then explaining them in terms that people can understand. That's my art. My art is not editing videos. My art is not finding clips of these people in interviews to put in the videos, so I can outsource that. And that was really helpful for me because I had like basically refused to get an editor at the time. I thought my animations are my art. Everything's my art.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Yeah.
My art is being able to explain productivity well. That's pretty much it. And I think I'm a decent speaker. I'm an okay editor too.
You are. I'm pretty sure you haven't said once. That's my downfall.
I bet you I've
But I try to every time I say or like, I just like, oh no. I wish I could wear like a shock collar. Every time I said just like, oh.
There have definitely been episodes, even probably in the recent past, where I rely heavily on those vocal crutches and I'll listen back to them. Can you listen to your podcasts yourself? Okay. I know people who just can't listen to their own voice.
I don't ever really listen to the entire one, but when it's like a fun guest, or recently I did a podcast with like all of my friends in New York, that was fun for me.
So if it's fun, you'll do it.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I am. Yeah. If I do, and I'll listen to this one again, but with my money podcast in particular, if we edit or if we record, if we interview a guest who's just like an expert or the CEO of a company, I'm not going to listen to that episode again. It's good information, but
and you got it the first time.
It isn't fun hangout time with Andrew.
Yeah.
But I do listen to almost every single one of the College Info Geek episodes because that show is me hanging out with Martin.
And it's fun.
And if we do a solo episode on LMM, that's me hanging out with Andrew. That feels like hanging out with friends. So I'm going to listen back to that.
Doing a podcast is probably the best exercise to get better at speaking.
It is. Yeah, because there's the least amount of friction to putting something out there that is a finished product. I think you could speak into a mirror. Yeah. And that would be less friction, but there's no feedback there. No one's going to see it and tell you what you did wrong, and you can't look back at it. So I feel like a podcast, there's no worrying about what you look like. There's no worrying about lighting. None of that.
Unless you're posting on YouTube.
Unless you're posting on YouTube. We have to make it complicated, right?
Yeah.
I just said
Oh, there we go. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
I bet you I've said it before in this podcast. But with a podcast, all you got to do is talk.
Exactly.
If you have a decent mic here, you don't even have to worry about the recording environment. So 5 years of podcasting experience really does pay off. And I feel like that was a logical progression for me. It was podcasting, then YouTube, then speaking. And now I can get on a stage and feel very little anxiety to speak. And it's me leaning on all that experience. So I would say people should start a podcast just to become a better speaker.
Exactly. It's huge.